The Haunting of Ashwood Manor. Nestled deep within the dense and ancient Ashwood forest, Ashwood Manor stood as a testament to a bygone era. The manor, with its towering spires and Gothic architecture, was once the grand home of the enigmatic Ashwood family, but now it lay abandoned, shrouded in mystery and tales of hauntings that kept even the bravest villagers away. On a chilly autumn evening, as the wind howled through the trees and leaves rustled with an almost sentient whisper, Claire Bennett made her way towards the manor. A freelance journalist with a penchant for the paranormal, Claire had heard countless stories about Ashwood Manor's eerie past. Determined to uncover the truth, she set out to spend the night within its haunted walls. The manor loomed ahead, its silhouette stark against the darkening sky. Claire paused at the wrought iron gates, her breath visible in the cold air. Pushing them open, she walked up the gravel path, the crunch of stones underfoot echoing in the silence. She reached the grand entrance and, with a mix of trepidation and excitement, pushed open the heavy wooden door. The air inside was thick with the scent of decay and dust. Claire clicked on her flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness to reveal a grand foyer with a sweeping staircase. Cobwebs adorned the banisters, and the faded wallpaper hinted at a once lavish decor. She set up her equipment, cameras, voice recorders, and a notebook, determined to document any paranormal activity. As the night deepened, the temperature inside the manor seemed to drop. Claire wrapped her scarf tighter and ventured further into the house. She explored room after room, each one filled with relics of the past: a dusty grand piano, tattered drapes, and portraits of stern-faced ancestors whose eyes seemed to follow her every move. In the library, she discovered an old journal tucked away on a high shelf. The journal belonged to Eliza Ashwood, the last known resident of the manor. As Claire leafed through the pages, she uncovered a tale of sorrow and tragedy. Eliza wrote of her husband Thomas, who had become increasingly obsessed with dark rituals and the occult. His descent into madness had ultimately led to his death, and Eliza believed his spirit still haunted the manor, tormented and vengeful. Suddenly, a cold draft swept through the room, extinguishing Claire's flashlight. She fumbled for her spare, but before she could turn it on, she heard a faint whisper. "Leave this place." Her heart pounded in her chest as she scanned the room, but she was alone. Summoning her courage, Claire called out, "Who are you? What do you want?" Silence. Then the whisper came again, louder this time. "Leave while you can." Claire's hands shook as she turned on her spare flashlight, its beam flickering. She decided to set up her voice recorder in the library, hoping to capture more of the whispers. As she left the room, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She wandered through the dimly lit hallways and the manor's oppressive silence weighing. In the dining room, she noticed the table was set for dinner, as if awaiting guests. The sight was both eerie and sad, a snapshot of a life long gone. It was nearing midnight when Claire heard the faint sound of music. Following the haunting melody, she found herself back in the grand foyer. The sound was coming from the grand piano. She approached cautiously, and as she drew nearer, she could see the piano keys moving, playing the tune by themselves. A figure materialized by the piano, a translucent woman in a Victorian dress. Her face was a mask of sorrow, and Claire realized she was seeing the ghost of Eliza Ashwood. The apparition turned to Claire, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and warning. "You must leave," Eliza's voice echoed in Claire's mind. "He is coming." Before Claire could respond, the room grew icy cold. A deep, guttural growl resonated through the manor, and the piano music ceased abruptly. Eliza's ghost vanished, leaving Claire alone with the darkness closing in. Panic surged through Claire as she backed away from the piano. She felt a malevolent presence, an oppressive force that seemed to suffocate the air around her. She stumbled back into the library, her hands shaking as she retrieved the voice recorder. The growling grew louder, more menacing, as she played back the recording. "Leave this place before it's too late." Eliza's voice was clear, but it was followed by another, more sinister voice. "She is mine." The recorder slipped from Claire's hands as the library door slammed shut. The temperature plummeted, and Claire could see her breath forming in clouds before her. The malevolent presence was closing in, and she knew she had to escape. She raced down the hallway, the growls echoing in her ears. The manor seemed to come alive with shadows twisting and contorting around her. As she reached the grand foyer, the front door slammed shut, trapping her inside. Desperation clawed at her mind as she looked for another way out. She remembered the back door in the kitchen and sprinted towards it. The growling was relentless, growing louder and more frenzied. Claire's heart pounded as she fumbled with the lock, finally wrenching the door open. She stumbled out into the cold night air, the forest around the manor eerily silent. The growling ceased abruptly, and she could almost feel the manor's malevolent presence retreating. Claire didn't stop running until she reached her car parked at the edge of the forest. Gasping for breath, she glanced back at Ashwood Manor, its dark silhouette ominous against the moonlit sky. She knew she had to leave and never return, but she also knew she couldn't leave the story untold. The world needed to know the truth about the horrors that lurked within Ashwood Manor. Claire drove away, her mind racing with the events of the night. She would write her story, revealing the tragic fate of Eliza Ashwood and the malevolent spirit of Thomas. She hoped it would serve as a warning to others. Some secrets are meant to stay buried, and some places are better left alone. As she reached the safety of her home, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see a ghostly figure, but the night was still and empty. Claire sat down at her desk, determined to write her story. She knew it would be the most chilling piece she had ever written. The tale of Ashwood Manor would haunt her forever, but she was driven by a need to share the truth. And as she began to type, the whispers of the manor seemed to follow her, a constant reminder of the night she faced the darkness within Ashwood Manor.